Today we're going to look at this car. This is a 2002 Toyota Corolla Sport Edition. This is a great car. You know, as far as a commuter car, you cannot go wrong with any Toyota Corolla. The styling of this one, 2002, is a little antiquated compared to the newer ones, but it still looks pretty good. It still has the 90s feel. So one of the things with the 90s feel of cars, generally they're much shorter, it's much lower down. It feels pretty good when you're driving it. You can tell that it doesn't have a lot of power, but it's got plenty of power for commuting. People that get the Corollas, they're more people that are very rational and they want a car that's going to hold up over time. And you're looking for a car so you can just get to work. This is the best car you can possibly get. I've had a few Corollas. I've never had any issues with them. Any engine, the 1.8 that's in Corollas is the same one that's like in Toyota Paseos. I believe the Paseo engine is like 1.5. Really great engines. These are just so bulletproof, and I hate to say bulletproof, but nothing is more reliable than an old Corolla. This one's got daytime running lights, and it's got like these projector beams for headlights, which are very nice to have. From the side, you know, the car looks very bland, but I think that's the whole point of Toyota. This car doesn't stand out. It doesn't have any frills to it, but it does do the job. The wheels are pretty small. They're 14-inch wheels, but they're very inexpensive to change. And when you have a car that's basically just an economy car with 4 doors, you want to not spend any money on it. And that's what happens with these Corollas. The Corolla, you just pretty much turn it on and start it. It doesn't need anything. These cars are just so incredibly reliable. Toyota, in a way, did a bad thing. They made these cars too reliable, and you can still see cars, Toyota Corollas from the early 90s on the road, and they're pretty much maintenance-free. I think it takes a certain kind of person to really admire Corollas, or any economy car, but generally I like Corollas because they are the cars that people usually get when all you want is extreme reliable transportation that gets you anywhere. These really are kind of like the cockroaches of economy cars. They're bland, but yet they're still good looking. You know, they're a mix of the 90s design and the early 2000s. Let's see how big the trunk is. The boot is actually fairly large here. I think one of the things I don't like about these sedan styles is that if you're carrying something, you have to kind of lift it up over this and then kind of drop it into the trunk. The style of trunk that's flat and you can just slide things in like suitcases or whatever is a little bit handier. Also, this one is pretty deep. It goes in quite a bit, and but it makes it hard to kind of load stuff. And I think you're seeing a lot of these economy cars going more in the way of hatchbacks instead of this style. But this is, of course, an older style. These sedans hardly exist anymore. The sedan is kind of like a dying class. But these are still around. Like, you can get these for very reasonable prices in the used market. But this does fit 5 people, 3 over here, 2 in the front, with the seat adjusted for me. Like, I don't have a lot of room here for my knees, maybe like 1 inch. It's very short, but it's what you'd expect. It does have seat belts. It has a cup holder here. Corolla does have a child-proof back seat, so your kids don't open the door while driving. Power windows. Inside the car is plenty roomy, but you do notice that it is much smaller than, let's say, a Toyota Prius. Compared to like a Toyota Paseo, this is extremely roomy. It's got a very nice steering wheel, and this might be the S version of the Corolla. It has this kind of really nice steering wheel that looks very sporty. It's got the horn in the center. It's also got an airbag. It also has an airbag over there. I don't think it's got any additional airbag. So right here you have your automatic windows, and of course 4 for each door. You have your lock for your door locks. This is your automatic lock. You have nice plastic handle. This is like a little bit of a softer rubber. This, of course, is your mirror adjustment, power mirrors, which is nice, left and right. And then you have the usual Toyota dimmer, which is kind of nice. You know, they could have made it a little bit smaller by 2002, but you gotta admire Toyota. They're sticking with the same buttons from car to car. Hazards. You have your clock, and this is how you adjust the clock, hour and minute. And then over here you have a empty slot for an additional button. I'm not sure what would come with it here, maybe some fog lights, I don't know. Your vents, and here you have your radio, which is a CD player, which is nice, you know. This is 2002, so you wouldn't have any XM or whatever. It's easy enough to change. This is a little bit loose. I think that's the only problem. Nothing particularly good about this radio. I can't even see the name brand. And here you have your air conditioning in the DC metro area. This is very important to have. And this is something I do admire about Toyotas and Hondas, is that very simple adjustment of your AC and heat. And this is your air conditioning button, your fan, and this is the direction where it goes. And then your defroster, and you have a little slot here to put your nice little things. And then you have a cup holder, 2 cup holders, one for your passenger, ashtray, 12-volt cigarette lighter, and then you do have like a little space here to kind of put your wallet. You do have your automatic transmission with an overdrive button right here. Very simple. This is like so familiar to anybody that's into Toyotas. This is just like all the automatics have this. I'm pretty sure you can fit one to the other. I think the mechanisms are probably even simple and similar. Of course, here you have your handbrake, and this is your armrest. You can see when you like flip it up, you do have a little space here to put this. I believe it kind of just not locking, which is interesting. Then it's pretty deep. I don't know if you can tell, but I can put my hand really far down here and find all sorts of stuff. The cloth here is incredibly durable. I've seen these, I mean, I had a 95 Paseo and the cloth seats on it were incredibly durable. And of course, whatever materials that Toyota's putting in their cars just holds up. And if you're buying an economy car, you want this sort of cloth. I mean, this looks like it's been barely used. The seat is just in such good shape, and generally you will see this sort of wear on these Toyotas. Even the driver's seat has an incredibly well-made seat. It doesn't rip. A lot of times in American cars, generally, the support here, this lateral support on the driver's side is worn, even on cloth, more so on leather and pleather, and the fake leather. But all Toyotas I've seen just hold up incredibly well. I've never had any issues with them. And here's your glove box with some money. I gotta take that out. And you have your airbag. I'm always a fan of like the dashes from Toyota. So here's your like dummy lights. This is your temperature gauge. The style of the gauges are actually a little bit more contemporary. They have this honeycomb type of texture that's hard to see all over, but that is kind of a cool feature that you do see. I was surprised to see that this even had a ambient outside temperature. Right now it's 52 degrees. It feels colder. And then you have your tach. A lot of these Corollas, budget Corollas, do not have tachs, or the ones I've had did not have tachs. So that's a luxury. This is your speedometer. You can see that this one only has 155,000 miles. That's essentially a baby for a Toyota Corolla. And of course, here's your other dummy lights, engine light, it's off. Then you have your fuel gauge, and then you have some more additional lights there. And of course, you have your trip button here, so you can kind of go through. And let's start this thing up. This thing just starts absolutely right off. Turn off the overdrive. It is quiet. It is a very quiet car. You know, one of the things I like more about the Toyota Echo as opposed to this particular style of Corolla is that you sit on the Corolla a lot lower than you do the Echo. The Echo, I think if you have bad knees and stuff, the Echo is much easier to get in and out. And I don't know, if you're into like sports and you go running, the last thing you want to do is kind of crouch down into almost a sport-like car height. Yeah, the driving experience is very simple on this. I think I like it because it doesn't have any distractions. When you compare it to the Echo, this is much more of a traditional car as opposed to the Echo. The Echo, of course, is more of a Toyota Prius style. The instruments are very hidden. It's meant to not distract the driver. So there's nothing here. The speedo on the Echo, of course, is right in the middle. Same thing with the Yaris. The Toyota Yaris, they did change it up, made it a little bit more European. They put the speedo and everything over here. And I think in a way I thought that wouldn't be a good experience, but I did like it because it feels like you don't have anything going on here, so you can focus on the road. But this car, it is a very traditional 90s car, but yet it's a 2002. Like these cars, you put them up in the used marketplace and they get sold almost immediately. There's such a demand for Corollas in particular. I haven't seen that great demand for Camrys, even though Camrys are great cars. The beauty of the Corolla like this is that it's efficient. It's an efficient car and it's reliable. You know, it's just as reliable as a Toyota Camry, but yet it feels like it's a much better car for commuters. The parts for these do not cost a lot of money. You can change the oil. I just changed the oil on this and it took me, I would say 30 minutes or so. Not a very big process. It uses up less oil. It doesn't burn like your alternators. Like there's hardly any issues with this. This is such a reliable car. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.